So with the newly re-elected FAI President Donal Conway. Donal, thanks for your time and keeping you from your lunch. The chicken is delightful. I would recommend it. So thanks for having a quick chat with us. You've been re-elected as President again, 134 votes for, 5 against and 1 abstention. So how does it feel to be back as FAI President again for another year?
Well, it's for a year. It's for an interim board, which as soon as we have the independent directors in place, I will no longer chair. I'm absolutely delighted with the endorsement of the members of the association. And to me, that's especially important. We are autonomous. Of course, we have key stakeholders that we want good relationships with. But today was about the members making a call, making a choice. And that was especially pleasing.
You had to leave the room when the vote happened. What were your own feelings when you were out there for that couple of minutes? Were you nervous at all? Were you always sure that you'd be voted back in? And what would you say to the 5 people who didn't vote for you?
Anybody in that room is entitled to their view as to whether Donal Conway brings any value or otherwise to the board of the FAI, and I respect them all. Whether that was in favour or not, I would respect all of those views. The sense I had got for the week of the Festival of Football in Meath was that at grassroots level, players, volunteers, officials, that members were saying, it's our sport, we'll decide who our president is going to be, we're happy with you. They knew the conditions I was going forward under. It was for 12 months to continue the work on reform with this new interim board.
What value do you think you'll add to this new FAI board in comparison to the old one? If we, for example, moving from the old FAI to the new, and the fact that you had a foot in the old camp and now you have a foot in the new camp as such?
Well, a key element, and I think this is part of the rationale for what was in the report, was there's so many work streams at present going on in the FAI that I've been across, that putting 12 new people in there, unfamiliar with all of those, was a risk. It clearly stated it was a risk, and that was a risk we didn't want to take. So we subscribe to the view expressed in the report that bringing some corporate knowledge forward, some knowledge of certainly what has been happening since last March, would be of benefit to that new interim board.
Your new Vice President is Paul Cook. Noel Fitzroy had to step down and made an emotional speech, so you'll have a new right-hand man as such, and a man who's a chartered accountant and has experience of football and also finance. What do you feel he'll bring as the new Vice President?
Well, Paul has already worked closely with us. When our difficulty started in March, the board set up a subgroup. It allowed that subgroup to co-opt members it thought would bring significant value to the subgroup. So Paul and I have worked closely over the last number of months, and Paul has made a significant contribution to stabilising the association, to working on financial planning, and that's the kind of area in particular I think that he will bring to the board.
There were 3 people from UEFA and FIFA with you guys this week and at the AGM today, and I believe they met with Shane Ross and one of the members of the FAI board last night. What sort of things did they say to you, and are they happy with how things are going, given that these, as Paul just said there, these baby steps are starting to take place now?
Both FIFA and UEFA approved the Governance Review Group's document, its report. We would have engaged with them the whole way through the preparation of that report. They would have seen it, the draft of it, they've approved it, they've agreed with it. Today they were here to monitor, to watch what we do, how we conducted our AGM. They're always available and helpful. They spoke to the Minister to outline what may be concerns on both of their parts about undue third-party interference. My understanding is they had a constructive meeting with the Minister, and any time we're talking, I think that's beneficial and good.
So we now know 8 members of the new board: yourself and Paul, Martin Hegarty and Dick Shakespeare, John Finnegan, Dave Moran, John Early and Joe O'Brien. So that's 8, and there's still 4 to be appointed, and these are all going to be independent people. What is the timeline on that? And you were asked inside the fact that there are currently no women on the 8. Do you expect any on the 4? And there's a 2-year time period where you have to have 33% of the board made up of women.
We get the work straight away. I think on Tuesday we'll be meeting with an agency, an external agency, which is going to help us to deliver the independence. We're going to draft or draw up, we will communicate through the media looking for expressions of interest, again dealt with by an external organisation. I would like to think we'll bring together anything up to 15 or 20 CVs. We will look at the 8 football members and see what skills do we need to complement them. That'll bring 4 forward. Obviously we'll have to give serious consideration now to gender, as the 8 that have come forward are 8 males, so that's a matter we'll have to consider seriously. And you correctly say, When this interim board is over and another board is established, it's only got 1 year to fulfil that obligation of 1/3 membership being female.
So you'll be the president for this year, and at the AGM at this time next year, if not before, you're given a guarantee that you will step down?
I'm stepping down at AGM next year.
Last two questions, Donal. Noel Mooney spoke very impressively at the AGM today, and he's done a lot of interviews and stuff over the last couple of weeks and months. He's due to stay for another couple of months. Would you see a role for Noel in the FAI moving forward as chief executive or in any other role, or will he definitely go back to UEFA?
Well, Noel Mooney has a very important job in UEFA. He has a very important role, head of business development at UEFA. Noel Mooney is making a real contribution to the FAI. We will, in due course, the new board, the interim board, will start the process for the recruitment of a CEO. That will be a rigorous competition to make sure that we get the best person, man or woman, for that job. It's going to be an important job going forward. Noel is involved in football administration for a long time. So I suppose in many ways it's to Noel. In due course, does he want to return to UEFA? He is going back to UEFA. It's only a 6-month secondment. Noel will have to make choices then. They will happily take him back to UEFA. He's going back to a very significant role. He has the option of applying for the new CEO position if he so wishes.
One other person who had a key role today is Rhea Walsh. Is she still the COO or is she still the acting CEO? I'm not sure of exact title, but she was there to help you with any of the questions you had in terms of the votes and stuff. What role will Rhea have moving forward, and could she be someone who contests to go on the board?
Rhea took over at short notice the position of interim CEO. Then we realigned responsibilities at the top of the senior executive team because there was a huge demand for somebody to take charge of reform. And as you would have seen today, she was an absolutely fundamentally important resource there today. She would have done so much negotiation on this with our legal advisors. So I would have relied very heavily on Rhea Walsh there today. So it's really the division of labour. Rhea is the COO of the FAI. But she is responsible for this ongoing reform process and reform programme, hence the very key role she played at today's AGM.
Yeah, certainly there was so much more going on with the AGM today than maybe I expected. Lastly, the World Cup for 2030 could be hosted, in part in Ireland along with our friends up north in England, Scotland and Wales. That's something that's, obviously, a long period away now. What's the latest on that and the hopes for this new FAI in 12, 11 years' time to be hosting World Cup games in Dublin and Ireland?
Well, that's a process that's ongoing. We're in the business of preparing a bid. We're inquiring. We're at a preliminary stage, but notwithstanding that, quite an amount of work has been done. So certainly in 2020, we're getting to a serious decision that we're in a bid. We're in a bid with the other home nations, and that bid, first of all, will be tested at UEFA level. There may be other bids within UEFA. I think the sense would be if we were going to bid, there would be one bid emanating from UEFA. That would have 55 votes to start with behind it of the 200 odd members of FIFA. So it's a work in progress. We're part of it. The other home nations are happy with that. And final decision time is a little bit away.
And lastly, on the football, Donal, are you hopeful that the focus switches back now to Mick McCarthy's team, Stephen Kenny's team? There's going to be a new women's national team manager, I understand, this week. The 19s did so well in the Euros. We hosted the 17s Euros. There's lots of great stuff going on. The video you guys showed at the Festival of Football in Meath was fantastic, and all the kids smiling and playing football. And the FAI is the Football Association of Ireland. And you're hopeful now just for the football to continue and hopefully to get better and better?
Absolutely. We hosted the Under-17 European Championship Finals. And UEFA were extremely happy with the manner in which we delivered that. As you said, our under-17s remained unbeaten in that group, in the group itself. The 19s get to a semi-final of the European Championships. We topped the group for the senior men. They topped the group. Senior women starting a qualifying campaign under a new manager, only a few short months away. Yes, of course, we want the focus to be on that. But that's at elite level. What this week was about was the underage level, the amateur adult, the amateur adult female and male, all of that, the volunteers, the huge amount of work that's done in clubs all over this county of Meath. It was to meet them, encourage them, endorse what they do, thank them for what they do, and give them a bit of a lift as they gave us as just a real footprint for football in this county.
Great stuff, Donald. Thanks a million. Good luck with your next year as president of Massisi, and thanks. Enjoy the lunch.